like ducks. I don't know why. I just like them. I like the way they waddle. I like the way they quack. I like the way they hang out with their kids. And Sister Euphemia would have been proud of how they walk in a straight line behind their Mother Superior. So what I want to know is, where are the animal rights activists in this latest Duck Dynasty debacle?
And I've never been so humiliated in all my life. Look, Mac, just what's going on around here? Let's get organized,
Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. I could wax eloquently about the Constitution and free speech and the price so many have paid to protect our American freedoms. I could also talk about freedom of religion, the right to privacy, and capitalism, which includes the rights of private companies to pretty much do whatever they want. But this week's Duck Dynasty controversy seems more about the left and the right and the lengths that they go to defend their views of the world. Now, unlike most other nations, the United States is a mosaic of countless nationalities and cultures and religions. We are all different. Some of us pray at the altar. Some of us pray at the Bema. Some of us pray to Mecca. Some of us just don't pray at all. Now, I went to Catholic schools, and I happen to have a Bible in my bedroom. I don't know what drives people, but I do believe that people are who they are, that we cannot change who we are. Does anyone think it's easy to be gay in the world that we live in? You might want to talk to Matthew Shepard's mother and father if you do. Or note that Uganda passed an anti-gay law this week that punishes gay people with life in prison. And we give Uganda about $500 million a year? Maybe the gay and lesbian community ought to focus on that. And gays have been told not even to show up at the Olympics in Russia by Macho Man himself, Big Bad Vlad Putin. Personally, I don't give a damn what you do in your bedroom, who you do it with, how often you do it. That's between you, your partner, and God. But I also think, having been schooled in the Constitution as well as having rendered legal decisions on the Constitution, that Phil Robertson, the patriarch of Duck Dynasty, has the right to say what he thinks. As far as I'm concerned, the thought police should get the duck out of here. Now, I must confess, I have never watched Duck Dynasty, although my mother loves it. But what do I know? What I do know is that Phil, a self-described redneck who often quotes from the Bible, has the right to his view of the world, especially if it's based on the Bible. And if it's considered blasphemous for Phil to repeat directly from the greatest book on earth, and that he should be censored for those beliefs, what's next? Will we stop publishing the Bible because some people are offended by what's in it? Will this be America's Kristallnacht? Now, A&E says that in spite of Robertson's First Amendment right to say what he pleases, the graphic language that he used in no way reflects those of the network, saying that their viewers feel safe watching the show with their children. Yet his statements were not even made on A&E. Really, A&E? This is the same network that aired Rodeo Girls with an episode, Bikini or Bust? The same network that did a man-on-man sexual assault in prison, where sexual content, including people in bed together seemingly naked, was aired? Did A&E kowtow to the gay and lesbian community? Maybe. Did they disregard the constitutional rights of Robertson? Maybe. Or did they suspend him based on a morals clause in his contract? Maybe. But in the end, does it matter? When it comes to money, and A&E has made a spectacular amount of it off this show, I suspect a backroom deal will resolve the controversy while the rest of us are in a tailspin, the right and the left using any excuse and any issue to stay at each other's throats. So where do I come down on the Duck Dynasty controversy? I go back to the real villains in this controversy, the duck murderers. They set them up, they entice them, and they murder them before our very eyes. I am personally offended by the torture, the vile torture and killing of innocent, web-footed beings. These babies shouldn't be reduced to victims for sport when clearly the odds are so against them. Ducks have rights. Where are the animal cruelty people? Where are the ducks' rights activists? Even the ducks want to know. And I want to know why PETA doesn't object to duck feathers in pillows and duck feathers in winter coats. I think that we should start our own online petition, not to save Duck Dynasty, but to save the ducks. And no, I don't eat duck and I don't buy duck. Forget Duck Dynasty. Focus on duck justice. With me is president of the Family Research Council, Tony Perkins, and one of the world's leading branding experts, Bruce Turkel. All right, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Tony. Ralph Reed from the Family and Freedom Coalition says suspending Robertson was a brazen act of anti-Christian bigotry. Was it?
Well, first of all, let me say, I think the ducks are probably down with your suggestion that it's all about the ducks, all right?
Oh, that was good. Ducks are down. That was good.
I think what it is there's this growing hostility to anyone who speaks out publicly about a politically incorrect topic. And we're seeing this increasingly. We're seeing people that are targeted for their religious views. We saw just, and this comes in the context of some legal cases. This is not a legal case, obviously, but we saw just a couple of weeks ago a Colorado baker forced by the court to participate in same-sex weddings, even though he has a religious objection. We've seen photographers the same way. So it does follow in a string of those like GLAAD who are wanting to target anyone who says, hey, I have a traditional view of morality, and I see natural marriage as a unit of a man and a woman.
Bruce, let me go to you. Do you think that Christians have lost the right to quote from the Bible?
Well, Judge, first of all, I have to say your opening statement was more eloquent than I could ever put any of this. I agree with you 100%. My question is, how long are we going to continue to watch this unfortunate rubberneck at this unfortunate accident? I think there's something bigger going on here. I think what we're seeing is a conflict that was just going to happen. Don't you agree?
Well, I think, let me ask you, Tony, do you?
I think that the reason this has gotten so much attention is that we are seeing case after case after case. I mean, look, go back to the summer before last with Chick-fil-A, a very similar situation. And the response to that, Chick-fil-A had their biggest sales ever. People are now more interested in what's happening with Duck Dynasty. I think in part because they see this as the trend in culture of this imposing of political correctness by the cultural elite. And people feel like they're being silenced, and they want to speak out, and
Tony,
they support those who do.
let me ask you something. Bruce, I'm sure, will back me up on this. TV is about the demographic. And, Bruce, I think that you've indicated in the past that, Duck Dynasty wants very much, to keep their younger demographic, or A&E, I should say, wants to keep the younger demographic, the younger people. And, therefore, what they want or what they have to do is kowtow based on money.
Well, of course, A&E is going to look at the bottom line. They are a business. What's important, though, is to understand that the consumers, the viewers on both sides of the argument, are looking for authenticity. The question becomes, who do you trust? Who is being authentic to who they really are? And that's the struggle that I think we're seeing.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think Bruce is absolutely right. After all, this is a reality show, and these guys are supposed to be real. They live in the Bible Belt. This is who they are, and A&E is surprised by that. And I think, in part, that's why people are so attracted to the show, why it's the top-rated reality show.
But, one of the things that you just said, A&E is surprised by that. I would bet dollars to donuts that A&E has many times edited out statements that Phil has made that they thought might not be, palatable to their audience.
That was a rhetorical statement.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. They know exactly what they're dealing with, but pressure was applied to them by GLAAD, that organization,
right.
that it targets anyone who speaks out in a view that's contrary to theirs on homosexuality.
Okay, Bruce, you're the branding expert here. What about, when they made the decision to suspend this patriarch here, can he sue them? And I know you haven't seen the contract, but I wonder if he can turn around and say, you know what? Even if there is a morals clause in my contract, you're suspending me. Any money that I may have lost, I'm going to sue you for.
Well, that is possible if you look at the contract, but come on, let's look at the big picture. He's not losing any money because of this. He's making more money than ever. He's on your show, Judge. He wasn't on it before. This is working out for all of them. That's the issue. This is not an issue of authenticity, which is what we all want. These are two business organizations trying to do what's best for their businesses. The question is, who is doing what's real and who's only thinking about the bottom line?
And then the other piece to it is then you've got the right and the left, fighting over whatever issue they can to stay at each other's throats.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And then you've got, the evangelicals, and then you've got the gay and lesbian community, you've got the Bible, you've got the First Amendment. I mean, it's fascinating on so many levels.
It is indeed.
And Tony,
but
let me give you the
Bruce's-
last word here.
Well, to Bruce's point, I think what people are looking for is that authenticity, but also fairness, and they're struggling with this. Even those who may not agree with what the Bible says about homosexuality are saying, "Is this fair? Is this fair? What's happening in our culture, where those who speak about traditional morality are targeted?" And I think that's a question that's going to have to be answered.
Clearly. All right, Tony and Bruce, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And coming up, actor and investor Wayne Rogers weighs in on the Duck Dynasty debacle and vote in tonight's Instapoll. Should Duck Dynasty patriarch Phil Robertson have been suspended? Facebook or tweet me at Judge Jeanine. We'll read your answers later in the show.